Hi everyone, and welcome to I'm Alright. My name is Lisa Robertson, and this is my YouTube channel where I help new and aspiring writers get the skill set and mindset help they need to take their writing to the next level. We are on the last day of a 7-part series where we talk about kind of the essential things you really need to focus on in order to make your novel a success. What I mean by that is that if these 7 things that we've talked about all week are good, your novel's going to be good almost by default, okay? So it's the last day, and I'm not going to say we saved the best for last, but we did save the resolution for the last day, which just kind of makes sense, right? So what's important with the resolution of your novel? Well, obviously you need to wrap everything up, right? You need to make sure that all your main plot point, of course, your main story, but also all those subplots and minor stories that you have going on throughout your novel, that all of them come to some kind of a resolution, okay? They don't have to come up to a nice happy ending all tied up in a bow, you know. It doesn't have to be a satisfying resolution. By satisfying, I mean that the reader is going to necessarily be happy with or what they were rooting for. Bad things happen in novels just like in real life, and it's okay if the ending of your novel has some things that are not a happy ending. Life doesn't work that way, right? But it is important that everything gets wrapped up, all those things that you've talked about. You want your climax of your novel, which is different than the resolution. That's kind of where your main story comes to its, like that big emotional or the big chase, whatever it is, right? How the bad guys get caught, how the boy and girl end up together, whatever it is, right? That's the climax of your novel. The resolution of your novel happens either, like a chapter or a couple scenes later where you use that time to tie up all those loose ends that we just talked about, right? It's also where you kind of set your characters up for their future, which is really important. It's especially important if you're writing a series, that you kind of hint at what's next for your characters. But even if you're not writing a series, okay, it's equally important that you kind of not only finish their story now, but set them up for their story of the future. So your reader will kind of keep those characters in their hearts and in their minds going forward, right? Think about that. Think about what's next for your characters and kind of allude to that when you move your novel to its resolution or conclusion, okay? Now, when it comes to the novel I wanted to talk about today as far as a good example of a good resolution for a novel, every other day this week, I kind of went back and forth between this novel or that novel. What am I going to use as an example? What do I think is the best example of this trait or that trait? With the exception of today. Today, I knew from the very beginning what novel I wanted to talk about here because it is ultimately the most satisfying novel at the end I've ever read, and that's A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, okay? It's a great novel all the way through, but the way that novel ends, I don't think this has ever happened to me before. When I read it, I just got to the end and I was like, like I had this big happy sigh. It was such a satisfying ending. Not only did her story wrap up, you knew where she was going in the future. You were excited and happy for her. You were going to wonder what her life held for her. You were so proud of the journey that character had taken. And it just had such a satisfying, bittersweet, happy, complete ending. If you've not read the book, please do. It's so good. But the ending where she kind of says goodbye to who she was and the life she's led, like literally and figuratively, she says this real poignant goodbye to the life that she's had and is excited for her future. And that's the best ending you can want for in a novel. And I hope that's the best ending that y'all could hope for this series. We'll be back tomorrow with a short 5-day series kind of ramping us up for NaNoWriMo. Until then, I will